In this video, we'll show you how to cut a dovetail joint. This joint can be pretty intimidating, but after this video, you'll have all the instructions that you need to make the joint. Like the box joint, it's important to make the cuts along the grain of the wood, so that the pins or tails don't snap off when you're fitting them together. Unlike the box joint, the dovetail joint has two differently shaped sides that fit together. The smaller, thinner pieces that stick out are called the pins, and the wider pieces are called the tails. The dovetail jig has a side to make the pins and a side to make the tails, and it doesn't really matter which one you make first, but it does take some maneuvering to switch out the bits, so it's easier to start with whichever drill bit was last used in the router. If it's a triangular bit, you'll start with the tail side, and if it's a straight bit, you'll start with the pin side. We'll start with the tail side for this video. No matter which side you'll start with, you'll start the process by setting up the mini fences for the wood. You should have two pieces of wood that are the same width and height. Take one of them and place it vertically on the side of the jig that corresponds with the side that you're cutting, in this case the tail side, and position it in the very middle. Remember to have it facing the wood grain. Try to get the edges evenly spaced over the metal prongs. Then slide the horizontal black plastic pieces along the track to hold the wood in place. Secure one and then the other, using the small Allen wrench in the toolbox. These mini fences will not move throughout the whole process. Even when you switch from making the tail side to making the pin side, these mini fences will stay. This is very important for making sure your wood joints together in the right place. Now, once this wood is secured by the mini fences, clamp it down with the small clamps. Next, you'll set up the backer board. This is a board that should be about the same width as, or maybe a little wider than, your piece of wood, and it protects the back of it from splintering during the cutting process. Place it behind the wood horizontally on the jig so that it's touching the base of the wood, and clamp it into place. Finally, you need to adjust the height of the bit. Take your second piece of wood that will be used for the other side of the joint and lay it horizontally along the base of the clamped wood. Use a pencil to draw a line across, and this will show your thickness. From here, you just need to unlock the part that raises and lowers the bit, and then raise or lower it depending on the line that you drew. Make sure to have it be just slightly above the line by a couple hairs so that your pins will go far enough through your joint. And make sure to lock the height of the bit back into place. Once you've set up the wood vertically along the grain, set up the mini fences, set up the backer board, and adjusted the height of the bit, you're ready to make your cut. It can be helpful to have a classmate holding a vacuum right by your piece so it's easier to clean up. Remember to wear a safety shield and follow all the rules of the shop. Start by turning the router on and making sure it's not wobbling or moving up and down. Once you're sure that it's secure, take your jig, holding it by the black handles, and slide it in so the bit cuts into each cavity created by the jig. Make sure you cut all the way through into the backer board. Repeat along the length of the board, making sure to get both ends of the board that may be thinner and harder to see. Then turn off the machine, wait for the bit to stop spinning, and check your pins to make sure they've been fully carved through. If they haven't, turn the machine back on and carve away those final edges. Now it's time to switch to the other side, in our case, the pin side. For this part, it's especially helpful to have a classmate help you out. To change the bit, start by unplugging the machine from the wall. Then use the two thin wrenches in the cabinet below the jig setup to unscrew the current bit from the router. It's helpful to brace one wrench against the post and use the other one to unscrew the bit, and then fully unscrew it with your hands. Take the other bit from out of the toolkit, whichever is opposite from the bit you just used, and screw it in, making sure to have enough of the bit secured into the collet. Tighten it with the wrenches. Next, you'll have to flip the top part of the jig around 180 degrees. This switches from the pin side to the tail side, or vice versa, whichever one you're making. Start by unclamping the backer board and the first main wood piece, but leave in the mini fences. Remember that these stay where they are the whole time. Unfasten the pieces on the side of the jig, pick up the top half, and flip it around. There are Sharpie markings for where to put the top half. Once it's secure, refasten the pieces on the side, slide your second main wood piece in, clamp it down, and then clamp down the backer board. Here's a video for how to flip it around if you started on the pin side. Now that you've set up the backer board, it's time to readjust the height of the bit. Do the same process as the first time by lining up the other piece of wood, drawing it on with a pencil, and then adjusting the height of the bit. Remember to lock the height back into place. Once you've completed all these items, you're ready to cut the other side. Remember to re-plug the machine in, and then turn on the machine, making sure the bit doesn't wobble or move. Once you're sure it's secure, you can start your cuts. For the pin side, it's a similar process, but instead of having just one slot to slide the bit, there's a whole cavity that you have to carve out by moving the jig. Make sure to get every part of the pin cavity, as well as the edges that may not seem like full pin cavities. Turn the router off when you're done, and check to make sure you've carved everything away. If you don't, your joint won't slide in fully. From here, you can slide your pieces together. It will definitely take some pushing to get them to fit together, and you might even need to use a mallet to push them together. Once you do, it'll be an extremely strong joint that you can later glue together to make even stronger. Make sure to clean up your workspace when you're done. I hope this video tutorial helped, and good luck with your projects.